we had what we call the Chief of Army Staff Day on that conference, Chief of Army Staff Conference. And General Anjuma was our Chief of Army Staff at that time, and we were having a conference on the reorganization of the Nigerian Army. And I also remembered in the morning at the Army headquarters in Lagos, they were all looking for me in the morning. I didn't got to the office at that time. So when I got into the Army headquarters, I went up and people were saying, "Where have you been? We are looking for you." I didn't know, quite frankly, what was happening at that time. So I looked at my watch and I said, "No," but I wasn't late. The conference was supposed to start at 9 o'clock. Then they said, somebody said, "Didn't you hear?" And it was, so I went up to go to see the Chief of Army Staff. I met General Akinriade, who said, "Ibrahim, where have you been? We have been looking for you all over the place." I said, "No, sir, I'm not late." He said, No, go to the chief. The chief wants to see you." "Didn't you hear?" I said, "What?" He said, "Go and see the Chief of Army Staff." So I went. The Chief of Army Staff, General T.Y. Danjuma, he said, "Ibrahim, where have you been? We have been looking for you." I said, "We are not late, sir." Why? So he said, "Didn't you hear what happened?" I said, "No." He said, "Dimka, there was a coup d'etat. I want you to go and flush him out." And that's all he told me. That was the instruction. So I have to come down to go to Ikeja. Those are where my troops were. So I drove from Marina to Ikeja. At Ikeja barracks, my formation, my troops were stationed there. And as I moved along to go to Ikeja, a lot of thoughts were coming into my head at that time about whether my troops were loyal or what am I going to find at that time, and so on and so forth. Fortunately, I had very good soldiers at that time, 4th Regiment. They were very loyal. They were very, very, very loyal indeed. So I went into the cantonment. I had no problem whatsoever getting into the cantonment to go and join the troops. That was what happened.
And according to, let me put it the way General Ikewachukwu said it, he said you chased him out of Radio Nigeria or something like that. You chased him out. Now, what will you say is your most memorable moment in your career, in the entire career, holistically, in the military?
Memorable one?
Yes.
My God, there are a lot of them. But I think the most memorable was when I went to war in 1967. What struck me was, here am I. I knew a lot of colleagues with whom we trained together, with whom we schooled together. Now here am I facing them in war. I never imagined that I will find myself in a situation of war with people who have been my friends, who unfortunately were on the other side.
That's quite touching.
It was.
Very, very touching. Now, so how were you able to get over that eventually?
Well, I think I did, because it was a job I had to do. And maybe it is a job that they on the other end have to do. But I found that really, really very touching moment in my life.
Thank you very much, sir. Like I said, it's going to be an iconic. These are things that ordinarily nobody will ever talk.
Right.
Now, let's go to the beginning of your career as a military head of state. August 27, 1985. Tell us how it all went down.
I had, it was a very interesting period. There had been a lot of, when the military boys planned coup, there had always been consultations, consultations and planning. And we carried out a lot of consultations at that time. And also coordinating even with the civilians themselves. The society at that time, maybe there were a lot of frustration within the society and so on and so forth. And in the military, they read situation before they ever embark into any of this coup. Because I will tell you a story. One of our seniors, Ibrahim, colonel who died during the same Dimka coup. One day we were traveling and he saw some junior officers reading a book, How to Stage a Coup. And Ibrahim Tayo was a very brilliant person and he's well read. So he got the book out of the hand of the young officer. He said he gave him a chapter in the book. He said, make sure you recite this chapter, get it into your brain, and I didn't know then. So I said, what did you tell, what chapter is it? Then he gave me the book, I saw the chapter, The Consequences of Failure. He said they should read it very well and understand it. And always I was remembering that story, the consequences of failure. So you find those of you involved are going to be killed. Those of you who connived will also be killed. Everybody will be killed once it fails. So those are things that I keep on remembering. And so we had a meeting on the 30th of December, I think, and we were well coordinated. We were always in contact. I was in contact with David Mark here in Mina and so on, but because he was the governor of the state. And what was paramount in our minds was that there shall be no blood whatsoever. And I'm glad to say that the soldiers were well disciplined, the officers were well trained and well led, and we carried that to the letter without any blood whatsoever.